Hi there, my name is Rich Morey, and I'm a licensed psychologist with an office in Atascadero. I've been working in the field of mental health for over 30 years, and I see individuals, couples, and families. I'm recording this brief voice memo to provide you with some good advice on how you might best approach your counseling appointments and how to make the most out of the entire counseling process. For most people, seeking counseling is really unfamiliar territory. If you're considering meeting with a psychologist or a counselor, you probably really don't know what to expect. So I'm going to give you some practical advice on how to effectively work with a psychologist, in the hopes that this will help you dial into your concerns and help you make the most out of each counseling session. These suggestions should help for all types of counseling appointments, individual meetings, couples counseling, family counseling, and even group psychotherapy. Counseling sessions usually have a duration of 45 to 50 minutes, and most therapists schedule appointments weekly. As the counseling process moves forward, and as your concerns become more and more resolved, then the interval between sessions usually increases so that your sessions transition to meeting every 2 weeks, then once per month, and then eventually there won't be a need for ongoing and regularly scheduled sessions. These 45 to 50-minute counseling sessions are actually pretty short compared to the rest of your week. So, I think you're going to want to make the most out of your counseling time. There are things you can do, things you can ponder, and things you can think about that will help you make the most of this season of counseling. I'm going to describe how you might prepare for and anticipate each session, what would be helpful to do and think about immediately following each counseling session, and what you could do between counseling sessions. For all types of counseling and mental health treatment, the goal is never actually to just attend counseling. Rather, the goal of counseling is always to change. So as you consider entering into a counseling relationship, it's important for you to know what you are hoping to change and improve through that process. Okay, so you've made an appointment with a psychologist or another type of mental health professional. This is a big step. Good job. But before you meet with the psychologist, you should think through or get clear on why you are seeking counseling. In a sentence or two, you should be able to describe why you've made this appointment. In a similar way, in a sentence or two, describe what you hope will happen because of the counseling. What do you hope will change? Also ask yourself specifically, what's the challenge, or what's the problem, or what's the tension that I'm facing? Review for yourself what you've done and tried over the past few months or years to try to improve things on your own. Write down and think to yourself how these attempts have worked and how and why they haven't worked. And lastly, develop some idea of how you will know if the counseling's helping. You should have some notion of how you will know if you're making progress. Think through, might there be any milestones that you can identify in advance that will tell you if you're moving forward? Okay, so now we're moving forward in time. You've had the initial consultation with the psychologist or counselor, and based upon this initial session, you now have some things to mull over, to think about, and to pray over. Following your first counseling session, you should consider these sorts of questions. Did I feel comfortable in the session, personally, emotionally, and relationally? Did I come away feeling that the psychologist really listened to me? Although I met with the psychologist for less than an hour, did I have the sense that he or she is going to be able to get me, to understand the jam that I'm in? In this initial session, did the psychologist understand my story? And lastly, am I able to develop a list of concerns that need to be addressed and that need to improve through the counseling process? What are those issues and concerns that need to get better if counseling is really going to be worthwhile? So now let's suppose that the initial session was positive and that you've continued to meet with this psychologist and that things are going really well. These are my suggestions for how you might make the most out of those regularly scheduled counseling sessions. Remind yourself of the reasons that you originally sought counseling, and remind yourself of your key targets and goals for counseling. What is it that really needs to change? And remind yourself that counseling is primarily about change, and it's not primarily about counseling itself. And ask yourself if you're diligently tending to the between-session homework. Following each of these scheduled counseling sessions, I think it'd be helpful if you would debrief with yourself the same day of your session. And this might involve writing down or journaling your thoughts, feelings, and reactions. The same day of the session, take the opportunity to ponder and process anything that the psychologist said that seems to stick with you, anything that is rumbling in your heart or mind from that session. Ask yourself, what did you hear yourself say that you're going to ponder and work on? You might make a note of anything that was discussed that you want to explore some more by yourself or with the psychologist or counselor. And ask yourself, what's the main thing that I'm taking away from today's session? And you might also ask yourself, in today's session, did I have the opportunity to name or push into an important life issue, an issue that I've been avoiding? And did I take that opportunity? Did I move into that opportunity, or did I let it pass by? Another key component of most effective mental health treatment relates to between-session assignments or homework. These homework assignments may build upon a perspective or skill that you've worked on in the session, and the homework could involve exercises that you'll do to practice what you've done or explored in the session. The homework might also involve new strategies to experiment with and try out. The homework might involve between-session assignments that lead you to read a suggested book or an article. The homework might involve journaling, keeping a thought record, or tracking or monitoring a pattern of thought or behavior or a feeling that you want to change. So I hope that this brief description has been helpful to you on how you might enter the counseling process and then make the most out of meeting with a psychologist or a counselor. If I might assist in some way, I'm always available at 805-703-0429. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Bye-bye.